the New York Jets. They were off this past weekend. Jets fans everywhere grateful for that fact. And 2 weeks ago, Aaron Rodgers said that on the question of whether or not he planned to still play in 2025, he said, I think so. Yeah, that was the end of it. Last week, the news came out about Woody Johnson suggesting after week 4 that he be benched. Then there was a report from The Athletic that Rodgers wants to play in 2025, but for anyone but the Jets. Here's Rodgers from yesterday with Pat McAfee and A.J. Hawk on his future in football and specifically and listen carefully, people, his specific future not with the Jets, but in New York. Here it is.
As far as my future goes, I haven't told anybody in my life that I want to play in 2025 and not in the Jets. So that's 100% false. I actually said the opposite. I said that I'm going to wait and see what happens with at the end of the season and if they want me back. There's a lot of things out of my control when it comes to that. But I've really enjoyed my time in New York. I mean, obviously we haven't had success that we've all wanted to have, but I've made some great friendships on the team. I've enjoyed living in Jersey. I've enjoyed time in the city. I've enjoyed getting to know the fans. And I came here to win here. So I'm not jumping off ship, like, oh, I definitely want to play and not in New York. Like, I don't even know if I want to play yet, but New York would be my first option.
New York, you say? Mr. Very careful with your words. Yeah, I've been immunized. And I'm sorry, Aaron, you're going to wear that for the rest of your life. You may as well get that tattooed on your chest like the no regrets guy. Pull down the shirt. Yeah, I've been immunized. You're never getting away from that because you knew what you were doing. And it provided a window into the kind of gamesmanship. Smartest guy in the room. I'm sorry, people are going to get mad at me, but it's true. Smartest guy in the room, smarter than everybody else. I can outfox the media. They're going to ask me if I'm vaccinated. Yeah, I've been immunized. And then it's on them to realize that I was pulling a fast one. That history caught my ear when he's not referring specifically to the Jets, Michael, and he's saying New York. Especially because I had just written hours earlier on something that people who are in the league and like to connect dots are saying Aaron Rodgers, Bill Belichick 2025. Well, where could they join forces? How about New York and not the Jets?
Yeah, it's pretty good, pretty shrewd on Aaron Rodgers' part. And in both cases, I'm glad you brought up the immunized thing. In both cases, he could turn around and we could turn around and say, well, there's power in a follow-up question. And in both cases, the follow-up question didn't happen. Yes, I've been immunized. So what does that mean? No one said, what does that mean? Or are you saying you've been vaccinated or immunized? There's a difference. Why are you making that distinction? There's no follow-up there. Yesterday, when he talked, there was no follow-up to, okay, you're not jumping off ship. What I've heard you say is, and I wrote it down, hey, good friendships. I love my time in New York, enjoyed living in Jersey, made some good friendships, love being in the area. But I haven't heard you say, why do you like playing for the Jets? Especially when you said you came here to win. So why? Why would New York / the Jets / the Giants, why would that be your first option? So we didn't ask to follow up, and so he is able to just kind of skate along. And look, hey, Pat McAfee, it's a good gig. I'm on board for it. There's room under the tent for all sorts of stuff. There's the old school, hardcore journalism. There's entertainment. There's talking to your friends in the media, which is what Aaron Rodgers and Pat McAfee do. I'm all for it, but let's just point out there was no follow-up question. So he's able to just say what he wants to say and keep moving.
But look, it's a great 1-2 punch if the rough and tumble New York media follows through today with their opportunity to ask the follow-up. It kind of happened a couple of weeks ago. It wasn't as tight. It wasn't as narrow. It wasn't as specific as it needed to be when he was going off on McAfee's show about how teams don't stick with coaches and players, and they're not patient, and it all starts with ownership. And he was asked kind of a follow-up the next day, and he turned down the gaslight on everybody, and they just let him do it. Today, simple follow-up, rough and tumble New York media. Hey, Aaron, and feel free to be dismissive when you ask the question. Hey, Aaron, you said New York a few times yesterday, and there's this dumbass out there that thinks maybe it means the Giants. You're talking only about the Jets when you say New York, right? You're not talking about, maybe joining forces with Bill Belichick and staying with the Giants. You're just walking over to the other side of the stadium. You're just going to a different locker room and a different practice facility. You don't even have to move. And I say that, Michael, because here's the thing to keep in mind. Number one, it's obvious Bill Belichick is strategizing for next year. He's plotting for next year.
Yes.
His media bully pulpit is a combination of settling scores and laying the foundation for next year. He's not bound by any of the rules that would apply to anybody who's working for a team. He can tamper his ass off. He can talk to Aaron Rodgers about joining forces somewhere next year. He can talk to coaches who are currently employed by other teams and otherwise focused on winning football games about coming to work for him next year. He's in the best possible spot to do whatever the hell he wants and line anyone up that he wants for next year, including and starting with a quarterback that likes him and a quarterback who he likes.
Okay. A quarterback who likes him now because he hasn't played for him. Okay. Aaron Rodgers, you need to have a conversation with Tom Brady. Have a conversation with Tom Brady. And they're doing great now. Brady and Belichick, they're doing great now. Remember the time we did this? Remember all those great times we had together? And they just kind of gloss over that there was a moment, there was a nice stretch, 4 or 5 year stretch where they really couldn't stand each other. And it started to wear on Brady. This guy, I can't satisfy him. Nothing makes him happy. He's miserable. And so he is tough on quarterbacks, even Hall of Fame quarterbacks. I mean, the best there ever was. And Brady really could tell you that there were some times it's just difficult to be around Belichick. He nitpicks. He really finds that area, and he'll just keep pushing until you do it or until you break. Or in Brady's case, until you finally walk out the door after 20 years. And so, and that's part of it. Privately, I can see Aaron Rodgers saying, sure, I can handle that. I'm fine with a little pushback. But Belichick does it publicly, not publicly. He does it in front of the team. He's not going to call you out in front of the media, but he's going to call you out in front of the team and say, hey, Aaron, this is some BS. What are you doing? That's a terrible throw. That's a bad decision. You're holding the ball too long. And I just don't think any coach has done that to Aaron Rodgers in probably 10 years. Maybe early in his career, but in the last 10 to 12 years, no way.
Okay, but how about this? Because I'm fascinated by the perspective. And I vaguely recall back in August, for some reason, Sims and I were talking about this alternate universe. Oh, it came up because Sims is quoted in the Ian O'Connor biography of Aaron Rodgers, Out of the Darkness, The Mystery of Aaron Rodgers. And his point is, if Rodgers had been with the Patriots, they would have won the Super Bowl every year. That's how much better of a quarterback Rodgers is than Brady. Now, that's when we got into this question. And think about this.
How dare you?
Think about this. Belichick had a special set of rules for Lawrence Taylor because Lawrence Taylor was phenomenal. You want to show up late for a meeting? Fine. You don't want to show up at all? Fine. We got a sleeping bag at the front of the room where you can come in and sleep through the meeting? Fine. You want to show up 5 minutes before kickoff? Fine. Whatever. Show up with handcuffs on. I think that happened once. I think that story's been told by Sasquatch here. Fine. But not because he was arrested and escaped either. It was something a little, But I think that Belichick would be Belichick would be willing to tiptoe around the delicate genius. Belichick would know what worked on Brady isn't going to work on Rodgers. Brady was in the right mindset, beaten down by being drafted 199th, and he was this lump of clay that I could keep down, I could squeeze down, and I could use that the way that Bill Parcells used to treat Phil Simms. And the message to the locker room at large is, if I'm going to treat your star this way, your quarterback this way, you're all subject to, except Lawrence Taylor, you're all subject to it. And so I feel like if push came to shove, and if Belichick would want him, now who knows? Belichick decided Tom Brady was getting a little too old. Maybe this is the way he rectifies getting it wrong with Brady, getting the most he can out of Rodgers when Rodgers is on the wrong side of 41. Very soon he'll turn 41. I just wonder if Belichick would understand what it takes to get the most out of Aaron Rodgers and not treat him the way he treated Tom Brady.
Well, okay. Oh, there's so much here. Simms, what are you talking about, Simms? That Rodgers would have won as many Super Bowls or more with Bill Belichick. Would not have happened. But that's a different story for a different day. I'll say, of course, Belichick gave Lawrence Taylor special treatment. Lawrence Taylor was a linebacker, and if you listen to Belichick, he's the only one who says this about Taylor. Nobody else says this. Oh, he was devastating in the kicking game. Kicking game? Who's talking about Lawrence Taylor in the kicking game outside of Bill Belichick? He loved that he was a great gunner at times, and he was a freak on special teams. So a special teamer and a linebacker, yes, Belichick is going to give that guy special treatment. He'll give the kicker special treatment, the long snapper, maybe the center, never the quarterback. He is hard on quarterbacks, has been his entire career. You ever notice everywhere Bill Belichick goes, and it's not like he's had a lot of stops, but he's had some big quarterback controversies throughout his career. Goes to Cleveland, Bernie Kosar's there. Get out, Bernie. I'm going to fire you. I'm going to bring in Vinny. Goes to New England. Drew Bledsoe's there. Got a $100 million contract. Get out, Drew. I got Tom Brady. And even at the end, when Brady wanted to come back, the greatest quarterback ever wanted to come back, Belichick says, no, we'll move on. We'll do something else. So he is not kind to quarterbacks, does not give them special treatment. Aaron Rodgers would be no different. Aaron Rodgers at 41, Aaron Rodgers at 21 would not have been different. I think it would have been tough for him to deal with the Bill Belichick. You talk about the Aaron Rodgers experience. There's a Bill Belichick experience. And it's tough if you're the leader of the team. If you're one of the leaders of the team, he'll lean on you hard.
Well, maybe, just maybe then, if Belichick won't change for Rodgers, Rodgers would change for Belichick for 1 year. If this is the way to erase the last 2 years, the disappointment, the underachievement, the disaster ultimately that has been his time with the Jets, and go out on a high note, get his second Super Bowl appearance, not just win, but appearance. He's been in one. Same one Mike McCarthy got 14 years in the rearview mirror. So that part of it is up to Rodgers. Now, here's Belichick utilizing his media bully pulpit, and no rules applicable to him, can't be accused of tampering, can say anything he wants publicly or privately to or about Aaron Rodgers. Here he is from the Let's Go podcast. This was last Monday, talking about Aaron Rodgers, a.k.a. the delicate genius.
It's really hard when you're not on the inside with these guys. You're not sure exactly what they're being told, how maybe whether they have some physical limitations, but they're playing through them. Certainly, Rodney Harrison was a good example when we got him from the Chargers, that he didn't have a great year the previous year, but he was playing injured. He was playing through it because he's a tough, competitive, physical player. Once he was healthy, he was probably our best defensive player when he was there with the Patriots, and certainly after Taylor, the next best defensive player I've coached. So what they look like physically sometimes can be a little bit tainted. With Aaron, I'm not sure. You still see the snap in his throws. You still see the ball come out quickly and accurately, maybe a little less mobile than he was, but doesn't look like it should be that limiting of a factor. So I don't know. I think being on the inside is really, certainly there's been a lot of turbulence at the Jets this year, and it's probably negatively affected a lot of people, not just him.
Yeah, look, the short passing game that Josh McDaniels runs with the Patriots or ran with the Patriots would be running with the Giants under this scenario. That would fit well with what Rodgers likes to do. It's just funny because when it looked like Rodgers was on the outs with the Jets, that's when folks in the broader league ecosystem started connecting dots, and they know that I'm a willing listener to creative theories, and like, hey, Rodgers and Belichick. And so then you start thinking, well, it can't be Dallas, not with the Dak Prescott contract. It can't be Jacksonville, not with the Trevor Lawrence contract. Where could Rodgers and Belichick get together? And I narrowed it down to the Raiders, the Saints, and the Giants. That's it. That's the only places it would work. And the Giants, that's the place Belichick's worked for in the past. That was the place he, according to Gary Myers, was ready to go to when the crap hit the fan with Jimmy Garoppolo and Tom Brady and Robert Kraft 6-7 years ago. That would be the ultimate middle finger to Woody Johnson. By Aaron Rodgers, by Bill Belichick, and by John Mara. It would be the three-pronged middle finger to the New York Jets and Woody Johnson if they pulled that off.
If you ever talk to Bill Belichick about the Giants, that's your moment, okay? If you remember back in the day, Roy Firestone used to do that interview show.
In Touch.
What was it called?
In Touch, Up Close. Up Close.
Yeah, Up Close.
In Touch, Up Close. 2 words, close enough. Up Close.
And then at one point, it became a parody. Hey, I know you're trying to get me to cry. I know you're trying to do it, Roy. If you try to get Bill Belichick in that situation, if you want Bill Belichick to cry, you want to see some tears well up, talk to him about the Giants in the 80s and what that team meant to him, some of those players, Carl Banks, Lawrence Taylor, Pepper Johnson, the whole thing, ownership, what he learned. Even he'll rhapsodize about Ray Perkins and how Ray Perkins brought him in and made him a special teams coach, and how he learned about special teams and talking to the entire team. He loves New York, loves the Giants, so that is always in play no matter what. As a matter of fact, I put them first on the list. I put them first on the list on desired, my number one destination for Bill Belichick is the New York Giants. And then the other thing, Mike, you pointed out, he's smart, isn't he? He's smart. He knows how to do this. So I'm going to give, rightfully so, I'm going to give a little Hall of Fame shout out to Rodney Harrison, second best defensive player I coach. I'll take care of that. I'm going to get my shot in at the Jets. Yeah, you know, it's negatively affected Aaron Rodgers and others because it's the Jets. I've taken care of that. And then I'm going to tell you that Aaron Rodgers is still good enough to be a productive quarterback just in case we team up with the Raiders or Giants next year. Covered it all.
And I think, and look, who knows how things are going to play out, but I don't think it's crazy. And it adds a little more intrigue to his repeated references to New York yesterday. And we'll see if the rough and tumble New York media ask him today for clarification. And again, feel free to say, hey, that dumbass who you once said don't waste your time reading crap like that, he's thinking because you said New York, you might mean the Giants. When you say New York, you only mean the Jets, right? Go ahead, ask him. Do it. I don't care. At least we get an answer now and we don't have to wait for it. Although part of me wants to wait for it for the same reason part of me now is intrigued by whether or not Mike McCarthy is going to come back to coach the Cowboys. Are you not entertained? Step right up to the ultimate reality show and let's milk this cow as long as we can. So maybe don't ask him. Let's let this play out. Let's get maximum value out of it. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.